Trick or treat. Smell my feet. All my Funko Pops are eating me alive. Somebody, please, call for help. I think I might just die. They're starting with my ass. It hurts so freaking bad. It hurts so freaking bad having your ass eaten by Funko Pops that you've collected over a period of about 5 to 6 years. You thought you were the top nerd online. You even had them displayed on your little fucking stupid shelf. Turns out they didn't like you very much, especially your weird ass porn history. What the fuck was that? You deserve to die. Thank God these things were possessed by some sort of voodoo bullshit. Otherwise, we would have never seen you eaten alive by your fucking Funko Pop. Hey guys. What's going on? Have you been drinking? It's just some milky tea. Filthy Frank vibes. Filthy Frank now introducing disgusting Joel. Jubilee Joel, forgiving all of you your debts. What is a Funko Pop? Amanda, you don't own any Funko Pops? What the hell? Hanzo main? To be honest with you, I'm more of a Torbjorn main at this point. He's like the only hero I can play in the new one that doesn't make me go psycho. And then whenever you out-snipe a Widow as Torbjorn, you just know that they deserve to uninstall. You earn that shit. It's also a mandatory rule that if I'm Torbjorn and somebody sleep darts, maybe like a baby diva or some shit like that, I just have to use my entire molten core directly on them. Just bury them in lava. You have a Kota Bakia collection. Oh shit. What the hell is that? I'm gonna turn this down just a slight. One slight. Playing Destiny, Joe? How has your Destiny experience been? Are you grinding? Dude, me too. I hate Widowmaker. I just don't, like, dude, okay, the other day, this just showed you how incredibly broken the game is. Widowmaker, she was good, right? And, you know, I was tank at this point. And I would dive her as ball, but she had a fucking, like, mercy pocket, and then Kariko can, like, literally teleport across the fucking map to her. You know, so it's just like she's instantly, like, 100%. And you're just like, okay. And you get the whole team diving on you, and you think something would occur from that. It does not. And then you know, then you're in another game, or I was in another game, and you play Widow to counter the Widow, and you know, you do get the shots, right? It doesn't fucking matter because they got the mercy pocket and the Kariko pocket, and it's just the whole fucking team's built around them. And just getting one shot in that game, just, it's not fun. And it's not that hard to play Widow. Like, if you've literally ever played a first-person shooter and clicked on a head in a game, imagine that, but like 300% easier, because the fucking hitboxes in Overwatch are like the most forgiving nonsense of all time. You yourself can see like a Hanzo arrow hit somebody in like the clavicle, and then their head just explodes. Lynn with the 2 says much needed stream after a 5-hour critique or critic. Love you, Joel. Thank you, Lynn. What's a 5-hour what? You were being critiqued for 5 hours, or you were critiquing somebody else? You never played? Yeah, don't play Overwatch. Overwatch is for bozos. Also, their monetization system sucks now. Because, like, starting this game, I had a new account. And I realized, like, even with the battle pass, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, the rate at which you unlock stuff is, like, slug pace compared to the previous game where you get, like, you would get coins or you would get fucking loot boxes and maybe get lucky and get a legendary skin. It was, like, something mildly exciting that eventually wore off, but now it's just, like, you gotta spend $20 for, like, I don't even know, an alternative color. David De La Rosa with the fastest. Hi, Joel. It's Alanya, my wife's birthday. May you please give her a shout out? Thank you. I got your back with your Funko Pop. Thank you. Happy birthday, Alanya. Hope I'm saying that right. Or is it Ileana? I can't quite see with my orange tint on the screen. It kind of like blurs things together sometimes. And the character you play is Sigma? Nice. Yeah, Sigma's fucking awesome now. Yeah, if you can, like, direct shot his fucking balls, dude, the people just explode. Or you can one-shot people almost with that rock, too, which is really satisfying. I just hope they nerf the shit out of fucking Zarya, dude. She is, like, impossible to kill. Actually impossible. Thank you, Lexi. Yeah, the week's going good. I almost didn't stream tonight because I was so tired. I had to wake up this morning at a much earlier hour to take me mum, to an appointment. And it was a wee bit sleepy. Wish you luck on building a 6-foot canvas. Oh shit, for painting? Are you gonna roll around on it, or how are you gonna do that? Your cat Dusty had surgery yesterday to get her uterus, her name's Dusty, that's funny, removed, and she's doing fine now. Coned up, but doing fine. Her uterus was never 1 pound. Was over 1 pound. Oh, okay. Was it just like filled with clots and like cancer and shit like that? Geesh Louish. That's a big ute, as they call it in the biz. Hey, Papina Dolce with the 3 says, yo, Joel, what's up, my G? Coming at you from the 305. Hope all is well with you. Before, when I was unable to listen to your live for whatever reason, I used to copy the URL to my notes for later listening. Then one day I heard you have a playlist of them. Duh. Yeah, there you go. Makes it easy. Just go to that live stream playlist. I feel like I should make more of an announcement for that, but I mean, I usually say it in most of the streams. But thank you. Papina Dolce. And Jacob Bowling with the 5 says, Joel is the greatest narrator there's ever been and ever will be. I have a long day tomorrow, so I have to leave this stream early. Take care. Oh, okay. See you, Jacob. Thank you for the kind words. Yeah, who needs a uterus, man? I donated mine to science. Oh, it was infected. Oh, I see. So it had like quite a bit of bacteria in there. Yucky. It's uterus, not uteru. You gotta share your uterus. I listen to your episodes every night when I go to sleep. Help me fall asleep when my brain won't stop. Thank you, Maravalent. I know the vibe about the brain going. The One Piece is real. Hey Joel, how was your day? Just a question. What was the song that you played on the last stream right before the Dream Hop playlist called? Oh, it was like, if you search on that YouTube channel, I'm actually playing the one you requested for tonight. The Lullabies one. Wait, what day is it? Oh, it's Tuesday. You were asking for this one for Thursday. All right, we'll get it both days. No worries. This is a long playlist. This is from the Dream Hop Music YouTube channel. The current song's called Constellations Interlude. Prithvi, I don't know. But yeah, last time it was just like a Halloween related one. You can probably find that within Dream Hop Music. They have a little search bar on their main page. Can we get much higher? So high. You pack for a trip? Where you going, Lexi? You can't run away. The kitties are here to listen. We'll welcome Stace and the Cats. It's your new band name. Kind of want to donate your body after I pass because I'm pretty tatted and I would want them to keep it for like a museum or something. Yeah, I'm fairly certain that they just turn it into like corned beef hash or something most of the time. I'd want to donate mine just so a bunch of loser nerds, virgin scientists have something to look at before they die too. David De La Rosa Jr. with the 2 says, thank you, Joe, so much for you. You're welcome, David. Thank you. To you and yours. You haven't seen any material from Dark Echoes. When do you think they'll have more content? I don't know. It's a long process for them because it's a very, very powerful collaborative effort on his part. Obviously working with narrators and the film crew and the actors and all that kind of stuff. And I think they operate out of California, and if they're operating on like a campus, it's even more, even more of a headache and probably a bunch of legalese to jump through and all that kind of stuff. A bunch of paperwork. I should sing All Star by Smash Mouth. Is that song from Shrek and Shrek 2 and Shrek 3 Forever and Shrek 4 Back with the Shrek and Shrek 5 Revenge of the Swamp? Oh yeah, Catherine, we'll listen to it both days. Just remind me at the end of this one. Well, I guess I'll just remember. We'll be about 20 minutes into it. And that's where we'll start off next time. Also, YouTube's good about picking up where you left off on certain videos, which is pretty crazy to think. Like, where does that data get stored? I assume locally, unless it's on their end. Somebody. Joel is love. Joel is life. Isaiah, thank you. Appreciate it. Good to see you. Oh, yeah, there is a new podcast out on all the podcast platforms. The Let's Read podcast. In case you guys did not know, every Tuesday at noon EST. And tonight, somebody was asking, we were reading, you're hearing it here first, ladies and gents, the Trick or Treat Stories 2022. Does it affect your stats if someone stops the video and comes back to it later? I don't think so. I think it might adjust, for the watch time and all that kind of stuff. But, there definitely is a degree of importance, I think, for how much people watch your video out the gate. Now, granted, if those stats don't hit till later, then they don't hit till later, but there's just something very powerful, unfortunately, in the algorithmic sense I've noticed, that, on YouTube's end, where they're like, oh, more people are watching your, more regular viewers, or they'll say stuff like this, more regular viewers are watching your video for longer, so it's increasing its reach in suggested videos, which, getting your video suggested to people is like how you build new subscribers and how you get a lot of views as well. Thankfully, you guys are pretty loyal with who come and, watch the videos on average, which is great because I think a lot of my content is within that specific niche. I actually feel really bad for those channels that like have to think of something new every fucking time. Like I would not be able to do that. I would go insane. Joe, I noticed you as some of the characters' voices on Maddox. Great job, my friend. Wait, what is it? I noticed you as some of the characters' voices on Maddox. Great job, man. I'm not part of that. What do you mean? Which character? Is a hot dog a sandwich? Next person to ask that question is getting banned. Just kidding. Somebody once told me the hot dog is a sandwich. I'm not the softest roll in the hot dog roll container. Stephanie Bowling with the 10 says, Joel, today Jacob had a cookout at his sister. Her husband and her 2 newborn twin daughters came over. Jacob's sister was telling us she went to the hospital and got a bill for $350.68. Yeah. When she had her twins? I guess that's not bad, right? Compared to how much I imagine. I have no fucking clue, to be honest with you, how much it usually ends up being. I guess it should just be free, right? Depending on insurance and all that kind of stuff. And Amalia, welcome to the Buttersock Call. You now have access to bonus content. Can a sandwich be a hot dog? Now that is an absolute impossibility. I'm not the softest roll made of bread. Not a member yet, but you really know how to tell good stories. Keep going. Thanks, Joseph. If you stick around long enough in this stream, maybe somebody will, at some point, give you a little gift or sub, and you'll be able to binge watch all the bonus content. Oh, Maddox Horror Stories. Oh, what the hell is that? Maddox Horror Story. Huh. Okay. I don't quite recall. I don't quite recall telling this guy this was chill, but I don't know. I think the thing I don't like about these animation channels is that they're so shitty. You know what I mean? Like, it's such shitty animation. They all use the same fucking program, quite obviously. And it's like, it's just frustrating. I mean, I'm happy that they're making, like, probably making a living off of that stuff, but I don't recall ever communicating with Maddox. It's not that I'm angry about it, because I mean, it does give credit, and hopefully people from there come over here, but it's just like, I just wish the animation was better. Like, it's just like the same program. Whatever, man. I don't know. Alyssa Spencer, welcome to the Buttersock Call. You now have access to bonus content. If you use regular bread and wrap the weenie with it. Oh shit. Dude, you should put a hot dog in a fucking in like a burrito roll. That would be sick. Like a giant fucking schnauzer. It's some type of German sausage. I think the only animation you appreciate is the odd ones out in Jaden animation. Well, they clearly put in time to it, you know what I mean? But some of these like random channels that are just like out of like let's see. I wonder if you can see where they're from. Location, United States. Maybe. I don't know. Hi, I'm Dylan. I've come to lead you on the other shore of horror in eternal darkness. Watch exclusively curated horror stories narrated and animated to make you jump off the bed. Be sure to subscribe for updates on new videos. Be scared or be squared. Disclaimer. Do not dub my videos without emailed permission. Oh, wow. Wow, he's really laying out the guidelines there while fucking just like taking... What a stinker. What a silly stinker. Galaxia XP, welcome back for 3 months in the Buttersock Call. Good to see you. And Stephanie Bowling with the 5 says, Brandon is feeling a lot better. Jacob told me today how much he loves me in his own words. Jacob said to me, if I can, I will love you even after death. Jacob, does that confirm that you're going to be a zombie when you pass? Zombified Jacob confirmed. Zombie Jacob in the chat. Make you jump off the bed and hit your head on a ceiling fan. Do we beat him up? No, I don't even know. I don't even know how to feel about anything anymore. I still haven't even gotten around to copyright striking that BTH podcast. Fuck, I don't even know. Yeah, one day ago they posted my True College Horror Stories video, and then before that they posted Paranormal 8 days ago. It's so strange to me why are, I mean, I guess it's because I'm not reacting, but like, why do they think that's a logical approach? Your ceiling fan, your biggest fan. All right, friends, that was a quick 20 minutes to blast right by. We're gonna get to reading. Once again, that was the Lullabies for Night Owls by Prithvi, Dreamy Lo-Fi Beats on the Dream Hop Music YouTube channel. You gotta go, Bloxy. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. No worries. Like I said, these live streams will be up later on the live stream playlist. You can check them out there if you're ever so inclined. What's up, Lavender? Thanks for being here, guys. Click that like button. Click share. Appreciate you. And Galactic Bitch, welcome back for 2 months. Thank you for this endless spooks and entertainment. You're welcome. Thank you. Ever consider collaborating with another horror YouTuber? Yeah, for sure. Definitely. I haven't done it as much lately, but I definitely do it from time to time. Alright, like I said, we got trick-or-treat stories. So get your candy bag ready, because I'm about to drop some bonbons. Oh, that sounded bad immediately. I've always hated Halloween. No offense to anyone that enjoys it, but all the imagery brings back some very traumatic memories for me, and I tend to turn into a total homebody and order a lot of takeout around the end of October each year. My phobia is rooted in something that happened one Halloween back when I was a kid, and ever since, seeing all the pumpkins and skeletons and creepy costumes every year reminds me of all the fear and confusion I felt that night. Back in October of 1995, I just started 5th grade, and I was very excited about Halloween. My best friend's parents had agreed to take me and her trick-or-treating after school, and after taking us to a Halloween store that previous weekend to buy costumes, myself and Kayla were super excited to put them to good use. For some reason, we chose to wear black garbage bags with holes cut in them for dresses because we figured that that's what witches would wear. Then we painted our faces green, put on these black pointy hats that we picked up, then did a lot of cackling around this little plastic cauldron we'd insisted that Kayla's mom buy us. Once we were all ready to leave, Kayla's mom walked us around the neighborhood, and we managed to collect a ton of candy before we decided enough was enough. After that, we walked back to Kayla's house, then sat in front of the TV watching The Simpsons while we ate our candy. I have this vivid memory of it being one of those Treehouse of Horror episodes, and it was one where they're doing a Nightmare on Elm Street parody with groundskeeper Willie playing Freddy Krueger. It's weird because those moments before all the horror started, I think they were some of the happiest of my childhood. Or maybe it's just that they just mark a kind of threshold of innocence, me going from all happy-go-lucky and carefree to realizing that the world is a much darker place than TV sitcoms makes out. I'm not sure what the next show on the TV was because right after The Simpsons ended, Kayla's mom walked into the room to stop us gorging ourselves on candy. Kayla's dad was already home by that point, and as her mom helped him. Nicole, Kitely, welcome back for 7 months in the Buttersock Call. This is the best nights after a long, hard day with 2 tiny humans. Includes some really good Devil's Lettuce and my bro Joel. What's good? Your bro Joel checking in. Kayla's dad was already home by that point, and as her mom helped us decide what our 2 final pieces of candy would be before it all got stored away, the doorbell rang. I remember Kayla's mom calling out to her dad, asking him to see the door because she was busy. I remember Kayla's mom calling out to her dad, asking him to see to the door because she was busy. Then I carried on trying to decide if I wanted my last 2 pieces to be Milk Duds and Lemon Heads or M&Ms and a Butterfinger. I don't know why I remember that, but I do. Even though it was just 10 feet away from us, I didn't pay any attention to what was going on at the door, not until I heard Kayla's dad growl something like, "What are you doing?" He sounded angry, and I could hear some commotion coming from the hallway as Kayla's mom got up to see what was going on. The next thing, she absolutely screeches out Kayla's dad's name, Ron. Kayla's dad yells for her to call the cops. Then Kayla's mom starts wailing at me and Kayla to run upstairs to Kayla's room. The layout of their house meant that we had to briefly walk into the hallway in full view of the front door in order to get to the stairs. And as much as Kayla's mom tried to block us from seeing what was happening on the front step, I caught a glimpse before we scrambled up the steps and into Kayla's room. Her dad was wrestling with a person whose face I couldn't see. There was blood and something shiny in the faceless man's hand. The panic of seeing what was happening propelled me and Kayla up the stairs, and by the time we slammed her bedroom door closed and dived under her bed, we were both in floods of tears. All we heard for the next few minutes was yelling and shouting from Kayla's mom and dad. Her mom sounded terrified, and we could hear what she was saying to the 911 operator, how a man in a mask had just tried to stab her husband. But then her husband's yells were nothing like I've ever heard before. He sounded savage, almost inhuman, and his words were more like, "Timothy, thank you." Howdy, howdy, howdy. Oh. He sounded savage, almost inhuman, and his words sounded more like barks, and I couldn't make out anything he said aside from a few curses. I remember being terrified, but the sound made Kayla so frightened that she started pulling at her hair. Jesus. But the sound made Kayla sound so frightened that she started pulling at her hair and saying, "I don't want my dad to die. Please, God, don't let him die." I remember how heartbreaking it was to see Kayla retching at her own hair like that. Wrenching. I remember how heartbreaking it was to see Kayla wrenching at her own hair. I tried to do my best to comfort her, but as I did, I heard Kayla's mom whining, "Ron, what have you done?" After that, I couldn't hear what was being said, but I could hear a man and a woman talking much quieter than they had previously, still urgent but not screaming or yelling or inhuman roaring like before. I was desperate to go make sure Kayla's dad is okay to reassure her, and since the volume of voices seemed to indicate that the situation had improved, I figured that I'd go check it out so I could report back to Kayla, who was almost catatonic with fear by that stage. So I crawl out from under the bed, open up the bedroom door, and step out onto the landing so I can peek down the stairs. Again, I only caught a glimpse before both of Kayla's parents screamed at me to get back in the bedroom, but Kayla's dad seemed to be okay, and the man that I realized had a mask on was lying still on the floor at his feet. I was so relieved that Kayla's dad was okay that I didn't really think about the masked man just lying there. I just went back to Kayla and told her that her dad was okay. I didn't say that everything was fine. I knew whatever was happening was still happening. I don't know. But I could at least conform. Okay. I didn't want to say everything was fine. I knew whatever was happening was still, I don't know, ongoing. But I could at least confirm that her worst fears hadn't come true, and that she didn't have to worry about her dad being dead. I think Kayla's mom realized we needed to be kept up in that bedroom to keep us from seeing what had happened, so she joined us maybe only a minute later to reassure Kayla that her dad was okay. She said everything was going to be fine and that everyone was okay, but we needed to stay up in the bedroom until we were told it was okay to come out. Kayla said that she wanted to talk to her dad, but her mom said that he was busy talking to the cops. Then she told us that they had caught the bad man, and that was the word she used, caught, and that the police officers were on their way to collect him, and that was why we had to be kept safe. Upstairs. Obviously, I already seen the guy laying there at the feet of Kayla's dad, but just hearing that someone who'd tried to hurt us was downstairs was really, really scary to me. And even though we didn't need any help being kept in Kayla's bedroom, her mom carried the small TV/VHS combo in from their bedroom so we could watch movies. She returned. Why does that sound weird? She returned shortly after with the rest of our Halloween candy and told us that we could eat as much as we liked. Then, after she told me that she'd call my parents to let them know what had happened, we didn't see her again for a few hours. It's not like we calmed right down again after such a horrifying ordeal. We were still really freaked out, and no amount of candy was going to make us forget about what we'd seen. But Kayla's dad appeared at one point to reassure us that everything was okay, having obviously changed his clothes, and her mom kept checking on us every 15 minutes or so to answer any questions that we had. Granted, most of her answers were little white lies intended to keep us from getting too scared, but it all helped us to stay calm enough to eventually drift off when the inevitable sugar crash came. I don't remember falling asleep, but I do have a fuzzy memory of being woken up by my parents sometime later, with my dad carrying me to his car before driving us home again. Both me and Kayla were kept out of school the next day, and if her day went anything like mine, it started with a very sanitized explanation of the previous night's events. The way my parents explained it, an intruder had attempted to enter Kayla's home, and Kayla's dad had simply defended himself. They said although it had been very frightening, and it was very sad that someone was hurt, Kayla's dad had done the right thing in keeping us all safe, so everything was okay. The reality was a little less sunny, and the whole truth trickled down to us over the years, and here's everything I know now. The masked man was the husband of the woman that Kayla's dad was having an affair with. The same woman later said that she didn't believe her husband had actually wanted to hurt Kayla's dad and had only intended to scare him, but that's not what happened on the doorstep. Kayla's dad later told a judge that upon seeing the guy step towards him with a knife in his hand, he'd instinctively tried to shove him to buy him time to safely get back in the house. The guy responded by raising the knife, and somehow Kayla's dad had gotten cut. Kayla's dad claimed that he had very little memory of what happened next, and said his only thought was for the protection of his family. Kayla's mom, on the other hand, she had to testify in court that although she hadn't actually witnessed her husband getting stabbed, he definitely had blood leaking from a cut to his arm as he basically beat the masked man to death right there on their doorstep. He overpowered him, pinning him down, and then bashed his head against the stones until he wasn't moving anymore. The judge eventually threw out all the charges on the grounds that Kayla's dad was defending himself and his family, and this coincided with us kids being told that everything was going to be fine. But everything wasn't fine. Kayla's mom had witnessed her husband take the life of the man whose marriage he had violated. Sure, he'd protected them, but only from something he'd created in the first place. Needless to say, their marriage was never the same after that, and as it slowly fell apart over the following years, I had to watch it having a terrible effect on Kayla. They ended up getting a divorce, with her dad keeping the house while her mom got custody. But then, instead of finding somewhere to live around town, Kayla's mom decided to take her down to Florida so she could be closer to her grandparents. He had one last summer together. Then, by the time I started my freshman year of high school, Kayla was gone. It was sad, really sad, and although I moved on, I never forgot her. For a long, long time, we didn't talk or keep in touch, but then Facebook happened, and the only reason I created a profile in the first place was specifically to search for Kayla. I ended up finding her, and we had a very emotional catch-up after exchanging cell phone numbers, and eventually the conversation turned to that Halloween night back in 1995. And that's when I got the full story of everything that had happened, and why it suddenly made so much sense that I heard Kayla's mom saying that in a terrified. That's when I got the full story of everything that had happened, and why it suddenly made so much sense when I heard Kayla's mom saying in that terrified voice, "Ron, what have you done?" Ron hadn't just killed a man. He destroyed 2 families in the process. I'm not excusing what the knife man did, but none of it ever needed to happen in the first place. But I guess that's just not the world we live in. Jesus Christ. Kind of heavy right out the gate, alright? Trick or treat. You don't like the double stuffed Oreos? You only like the OG stuff? Vanilla ice cream with Bailey's Irish cream. Oh my god. Tweak or tweet. Back when I was still a junior in high school, me and my cousin used to volunteer with the local church, and every Halloween, we'd act as chaperones for the younger kids so they could trick-or-treat in safety. It was a pretty good gig, if I'm honest. Most people whose homes you stop at recognize you were the chaperone and offer you a piece of candy or two, which meant you could still cop some free candy despite being way too old and out of costume. We'd been chaperones during our sophomore year, so we knew how much free candy you could get, and since we didn't have anything better to do on the next year's Halloween, me and my cousin figured we'd volunteer again. Just like the first year, we took charge of 4 third graders each, then walked them around the neighborhood, knocking on Just like the first year, we took charge of about 4 third graders each, then walked them around the neighborhood, knocking at any houses that had decorations outside. We hit up this one cul-de-sac and we start working our way around the circle of houses when I notice an older kid sitting on the porch of a house across from us. He was maybe about 12 or 13, older than the kids we had with us, but definitely younger than we were, and he's just mad-dogging us from across the street. He did not look happy to see us there at all, and I even gave my cousin a nudge to be like, "What's that kid's problem?" We agreed to maybe not knock at that kid's house on the way out of the cul-de-sac, as we definitely didn't want some sort of confrontation occurring, but in the meantime, we could still knock at other homes so the kids could get some candy. My group had just finished up at one home and was in the process of leapfrogging my cousin's group when I heard a snapping sound coming from the other side of the street. Having not recognized what the sound was, I had no urgency about me as I turned to see where it was coming from. But when I did, I could feel the blood draining from my face. The angry-looking kid from the other side of the street was in the middle of reloading one of those break-barrel air guns, and I started to panic as I realized that he might have hit one of the kids in my group. And that's when the screams started. My head whips around to see a little girl who's in the middle of unleashing the most ear-splitting scream I'd ever heard. She's pointing at another kid, one dressed as the blonde girl from that Frozen movie, who had a hand over her eyes with blood dripping out from underneath it. I remember going into complete panic mode. Not so much because of the kids were hurt, or even that her injury seemed like it was really bad. It was because I'd already seen the kid reloading. He didn't just shoot and run away. He wanted to keep shooting. My first thought was to tell the kids to run for cover, but before I could even get a word out, they were scattering in different directions. Meanwhile, my cousin had been wise enough to the kid shooting pellets at us from the moments he fired the first shot, and the kid only barely got another pellet into the barrel before my cousin just slammed into him. Both of them were sprawled out on the ground for a second. Then just before I ran away to help, my cousin wrenches the air gun away from the kid and starts beating the life out of him. I mean, absolutely knocking the snot out of this kid over and over again. And what kept... Oops. Hey, Grandma, with the 7 Canadian maple syrup dollars is for your tea and Pradeep fund. Thank you, Grandma. Always good to see you. What's going on? What are we cooking up tonight? In the old oven. Y'all ever had bundt cake? You know what cake I love the most? I remember growing up, and it was always in packages, but then I had it for real, like made by somebody who was so good, was coffee cake. Joe, I can't find the Halloween-related Oh, Catherine, I think I emailed it to you, too. Just, like, copy-paste in the email. It should just be sent right to you. But it should just be if you type in, like, Halloween or something into... there's a search bar for... Every YouTube channel has a search bar over to the right of the main page. What came next was just total chaos. People were coming out of their houses, drawn by the sound of the screams. Most didn't seem to know what was going on, and even tried to get my cousin off the shooter before he started yelling back at him about how he was the one who'd stopped the shooting. The cops took way too long to show up because there was no initial reports of gunshots or anything. That, and I guess they were super busy with it being Halloween. The EMT showed up first, and it was while the little Frozen girl was being treated that I learned her injuries weren't that bad. I thought the little pellet the kid had fired had taken the poor thing's eye out. It turns out, it had struck her just around her eyebrow, and although there was a nasty gash, she hadn't been blinded, thank God. Once the injured girl had been taken off to the hospital, I had made about a dozen phone calls to a dozen different people, and I finally led the kids back towards our church, leaving my cousin to wait for the cops while still sitting on... Once the injured girl had been taken off to the hospital, and I had made about a dozen phone calls to a dozen different people, I finally led the kids back to our church, leaving my cousin to wait for the cops while still sitting on the shooter. My cousin said the whole time his biggest worry was the shooter's kids' parents appearing, but he was in that cul-de-sac for just over an hour, and not only did they not show up, but no one seemed to know who or where they were. He told me that after the cops arrived, they arrested the kid, asked him a few questions, and he passed on my cell number so they could talk to me too. I didn't realize it until talking to them, but I don't think I'd taken the time to properly process what had happened. So as I was breaking down what I'd seen before the kid fired, I ended up breaking down too. Like I said, the shooter was only maybe 12 or 13 years old, meaning he probably is either a juvie or some kind of... in juvie. What's my email? Let's read submissions at gmail.com. See ya, clowns come. Like I said, the shooter was only maybe 12 or 13 years old, meaning he probably is either in juvie or some kind of program as I'm writing this. I know kids his age can be mindlessly and thoughtlessly cruel, and that in opening fire on that little frozen girl, he hadn't properly thought through his actions. But I remember being that age, and I can't imagine having the hatred or malice in me to do anything like shoot an air gun at a little girl's head. It's no surprise that It's no surprise to me that his parents weren't around, and I'm not trying to excuse his actions, but I've always wondered what the kid's home life was like for him to even think about hurting someone like that. I hope he was punished, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, I hope that kid gets the help he needs. Not so much because I feel particularly bad for him, which to be fair I do, is because if he doesn't get help, that little girl might not only be the innocent young female he ends up hurting. What's wrong, Joel? Busy night? Why, what did I do? Am I in a bad mood or something? I am tired, but I'm not in like a bad mood or anything. Sometimes I just need something to trigger me, to get me excited. I heard fruitcake is cursed, so that's why whenever you get one, you should toss it or burn it. Are they cursed? I guess that makes it even worse then. Keep on hoping we'll eat cake by the ocean. Are you gonna eat cake by the ocean? Are you buying ocean, Carrie? Lemon meringue cheesecake. Oh, dude. Now that sounds good as fuck. Talk about squatting. Okay, well today actually, so I've been, for like my workouts, if you've ever wanted to do like some sort of in-between like heavy lifting, but you know, your form is not the greatest for deadlift or squat, there's this pretty cool thing, and you can look it up. It's called hex bar deadlift, and it's basically like kind of like a polygonal shape that you stand inside, and there's handles on, you know, the sides, and then, you know, the areas where you can put the weights on. And basically you're just like standing inside of it, and you're doing sort of a hinging / squat sort of movement for your legs. And I had, you know, I was doing it before, but it was really annoying because my grip was actually kind of like giving out like way before my legs were. And but today it was sweet because I brought my straps that I had for deadlifting before, where I could, you know, you just could get a better grip with like the straps. And so I strapped those on, and yeah, it was like repping out like 365 pretty easy. I was like, okay, this is much better. Let's squat. Yeah, the gym that I started at, I am gonna kind of miss all those like larger compound movements, but maybe we'll get there over time. You gotta join a gym again. Thanks for getting me excited about lifting. You should, Hannah. You should just make, just make any exercise like a daily thing, or at least like 5 days a week or something, especially, I don't know, maybe not 5 days a week, three is a good start. And then just, I don't know, something that some people do that they can start now if they're in their like 20s and shit is just like making a habit of getting into a really like rhythmic process of either walking or biking or rowing or some form of cardio. Just because if you can establish that now and still be doing that same like routine of biking, cardio, or running or walking or whatever it might be, like until you're 40, 50, like it's pretty freaking sweet. You're gonna thank yourself. Did you catch any basketball games tonight? I don't watch basketball, to be honest with you. I am not. I like playing it, but I'm not a huge fan of like watching the game. I just think it's compared to American football or like the more like physical sports. I just think basketball is kind of. It's not bad. It's just they don't like they're not as like rough. You know what I mean? Rough. Now slam ball I can get into. Thick pussy. When I was just 9 years old, my parents drove me over to my friend's house so I could go trick-or-treating with them and a few of our elementary school friends. I remember having dinner there and being told that after we'd eaten, we'd change into our costumes, then head out for trick-or-treating. As soon as we finished dinner, my friends asked me if I wanted to go see his dog. I say sure, and then we all head out into the backyard to be greeted by this big black chow chow. Now, for those that don't know, what the fuck is a chow chow? Now, for those that don't know your dog breeds, chow chows are the kind with fluffy faces and little ears that kind of make them look like teddy bears. Some of them can grow to be pretty big, and given how small that I was at 9 years old, that black chow chow seemed very big to me. My friend asked if I wanted to pet him, and although I remember being scared, I didn't want to seem like a wuss in front of them. So, hesitantly, I reached down very slowly to pet the dog. They say that dogs can smell fear, and I don't know if it was me moving so slow or the fact that he could smell how nervous I was, but in a split second, the dog went from all calm and docile to growling and biting at my arm. I started moving backwards, trying to get away, but the dog leapt forward and brought its jaws down just above my wrist. I just remember screaming in pain, and how nothing any of my friends did got the dog to loosen its grip on me. They tried their best, but weirdly, it was only when my friend's mom saw what was happening and ran out to throw a jug of cold water over the dog that had actually let go. After that, there was a huge rush around 150 minutes of cardio per week can extend your life by 3 to 5 years or so. I believe it. I definitely believe it. Do I meal prep? I'm not very good at meal prep. I kind of have like a tentative line of like macros that I want to get, and then like times that I want to eat, and like certain things I'm looking for. But at the same time, I would like to be more like, I don't know, robotic with my meal prep and time. I'm honestly very jealous of like Hollywood people that they can just like pretty much just show up and train and eat and sleep, and the rest is just taken care of for them, Horror on the Rocks with the 10 says, I hope this gets to you a little more pumped. You were the reason I started my channel and you inspired me. You are talented in what you do, and I'm grateful to have found your channel. Well, thank you, Horror on the Rocks. I appreciate that. No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean like donations or what gets me booming, but I do appreciate it. I just meant like things to talk about, just because sometimes I feel like I run out of shit to talk about, hence why I'm thankful that I have the stories to read, because I don't even know You remember being attacked by your neighbor's dog about 30 years ago. Damn, what the hell happened? Well, thank you again, Horror on the Rocks. Appreciate you. After that, there was a huge rush around me as my friend's mom carried me into the kitchen to start treating my wound, and around that time I remember starting to feel really strange. My arm suddenly seemed to stop hurting, and although there must have been a ton of adrenaline in my system, I felt weirdly at ease. I'd left a big trail of blood from the backyard into the kitchen, and everyone was crying. Even my friend's mom was struggling to keep it together while calling 911. But there I was, just all zen about it, just thankful that the dog didn't bite my arm off, which I think was my deepest fear in the moment itself. If I still had my arm, everything would be okay, right? And while that was technically correct, I still had a terrible time when it came to recovering. All in all, I had 7 deep cuts, 3 on the inside of my forearm, 4 on the outside of it, and this meant a total of 20 stitches up and down my arm. The doctors told my parents. Did I put this account in jail? Which account are you talking about? Your account? I want to get excited, I just don't want to say the word. What word am I supposed to say to get excited? My girlfriend wants a small dog, and I'm very apprehensive after living through this dog next door. Yeah, obviously the small dog would be nice to you, and nice to her. But yappy little dogs are actually some of the most common, bites of random strangers and kids and stuff like that. So, and they yap a fuck ton, which is annoying as hell. Just non-stop barking. And people, because they're small, they tend to not train them at all. They tend to, just kind of, let them do their thing. Whereas I feel like big dogs, people are more inclined to, correct them on their actions. I don't know. I'm more of a big dog fan myself. Big dog! My dog is the biggest dummy I've ever met, so anyways, I'm officially prefer cats. Oh, really, Hannah? How is your puppy doing? The doctors told my parents that the size of my arm compared to the dog's jaws meant that I was lucky a major artery hadn't been pierced, in which case I really would have been in trouble. Needless to say, no one ended up... God, I'm already struggling here. Needless to say, no one ended up trick-or-treating that night. The dog wasn't taken away by animal control or anything. I grew up in a small town with quite a tight-knit community, and it was all understood to be just a horrible accident. I didn't end up playing at that kid's house anymore, though, and I'm still kind of nervous around dogs I don't know, even all these years later. There's a subreddit of people who hate dogs. I can understand, if you had a bad experience with a dog, it is a fucking, sub-evolution of some type of wolf. Roberto Campos with the tennis. And when's the next drunken live stream? June 4th, 2023. I think I'm gonna... Or I don't even know if you're still allowed to drunk live stream on YouTube. Maybe somebody can look that up for me about terms of services. Maybe I can get a little tipsy. I can have a little bit of a drink. A little bit of a snack. As a treat. Oh, but thank you for the 10, Roberto. You want a giant dog of some sort? Yeah, get a Mastiff. There's all sorts of giant dogs. They're just expensive as fuck to take care of, and sadly they don't live super long. It's like if they can make it to 5 or 7, they're veteran status. I would be really sad. Because Pradeep is over 8 years old now, and any dog that lives to be 8 is, kind of in its latter years. And knowing that Pradeep is essentially just not even 1/3 of the way through his life, to me, is pretty exciting. How many stories do you have left? So that was 3. We got 5 left. On Halloween night of 1957, 35-year-old Los Angeles hairstylist Peter Fabiano heard a knock at his front door. The evening had been a lively one, with groups of expectant trick-or-treaters calling The evening had been a lively one, with groups of expectant trick-or-treaters knocking frequently after sunset, but this particular visitor had arrived just after 11 p.m., long after any child should have been roaming the streets. Peter had been lying in bed with his wife when they'd heard the knock at the door, and although the disturbance irritated him, he knew the quick dispensation of a treat was preferable to the receiving of a trick. Peter's wife, Betty, later said that she heard her husband walk down the stairs to open their front door before telling the caller, "It's a little late, isn't it?" Betty had expected to hear a child's voice in response. Instead, she heard the reply of a grown woman. "Not too great for this," Betty heard. Not too great for this. Not too great. What the fuck am I saying? "It's a little late, isn't it?" Betty had expected to hear a child's voice in response. Instead, she heard the reply of a grown woman. "Not too late for this," Betty heard, with the words followed by a loud gunshot. When she rushed to her husband's... Jesus, what the fuck? There's like so many spelling errors, I don't understand. When she rushed to her husband's side, Betty found Peter bleeding to death at the bottom of their staircase, and sadly, despite being rushed to the nearby Sun Valley Hospital, Peter was pronounced dead on arrival. The sudden death of her husband shattered the young Betty Fabiano, who felt as if her entire world had come crashing down around her. Instead of a bright future, loving husband, and a happy home, all that remained were her two burning questions. Who would possibly want to murder her husband, and why would they want him dead? Police quickly discovered that the only witness to the shooting was a lone teenager who saw a car speeding away from the neighborhood shortly after 11 p.m. Given that there was no valuables missing from the affluent Fabiano home, police speculated the motive for the murder was some kind of personal grievance, with the lack of any shell casing at the scene suggested the fatal shot had come from a small caliber revolver. Upon reading through Peter Fabiano's criminal history, police officers discovered that he'd been picked up on a charge of illegal bookmaking back in 1948. Since most illegal gambling operations came under the wing of organized crime, some officers began to suspect that Fabiano's murder was a gangland execution. Betty Fabiano insisted that her husband had severed his connections to the illegal gambling circuit and had made his fortune running a series of legitimate beauty salons. Yet when asked if Peter might have any enemies, Betty was given pause for thought. In her opinion, there was one woman who hated her husband so much that she might consider killing him, and her name was Joan Rabel. Rebel? Joan Rivers. Rabel. You played with a Ouija board in a graveyard? In her opinion, there was one woman who hated her husband so much that she might consider killing him, and her name was Joan Rabel. Born in Philadelphia, Born in the city of Philadelphia in 1917, Joan grew up to carve out a lucrative career as a writer and photographer. During Joan's early 30s, a whirlwind romance led to a fairy tale wedding, but sadly, the marriage wasn't to last. The divorce was a vicious one, so rather than fight it out, Joan picked up sticks and moved to Los Angeles in 1957. Joan hoped that she might find a home among the city's world-famous creative industry, but in the meantime, she needed a job, and one day, she happened to be passing a hair salon with a help wanted sign in the window. A hair salon owned by none other than Peter Fabiano. It was through working at Peter Fabiano's hair salon that Joan Rabel met his wife, Betty. The two women had a lot in common and were said to share a wicked sense of humor, so it's no surprise that the pair were fast friends. But over the course of the following few months, Betty and Joan's friendship blossomed to the point where Joan was almost one of the family. Then, when the Fabianos began to experience Then, when the Fabianos began to experience trouble in their marriage, Joan was a natural choice of temporary roommate for an increasingly bereft Betty. Peter was understandably upset that his marriage was on the rocks, but he assumed that Joan's interest in Betty was merely platonic. The reality couldn't have been further from the truth. At some point during Betty's stay with Joan, her host had made some kind of confession. It must have been difficult to phrase during such a deeply conservative defecade. It must have been difficult to phrase during such a deeply conservative decade, and it's not clear exactly how Joan chose to explain it, but she told Betty that she was a lesbian and that she was in love with her. It was a huge gamble for Joan, but unfortunately for her, it didn't pay off. Betty didn't reciprocate her feelings, and the confession appears to be the catalyst for Betty giving her husband another chance. Upon returning to Peter, Betty was made a promise that she'd never see Joan again, and when informed of the decision to go no contact, Joan was devastated. Yet Betty wasn't the only friend Joan made that year. For a number of months, Joan had been meeting with a woman named Goldine Pizer, who had recently come out as a lesbian following the divorce of her husband, and after listening to Joan's tales of romantic woe, Goldine came up with a chillingly psychopathic solution to her new friend's problem. She decided that Peter Fabiano had to die. The way Goldine saw, let me make sure that's how you say it. Hey, Alex with the deuces. Never a good sign when the story is in third person exactly, yeah. As soon as you hear that date and time, you know somebody's getting shot. Let me see if this is how you say Goldine. Goldine? Goldine? She's a Pokemon. That's how you say it in chat. Who's that Pokemon? Who's that murderer? I have to itch my back. I have like an itch in like a spot I cannot reach. Wow. I'm like a bear right now. I must find a tree. Wait. I found a plastic fork. It worked. Back scratcher? Back scratcher. Joey, you getting sick? I don't think so. Am I dressing up for Halloween? Yep, I'm gonna be Where's Waldo every year for the rest of my life. The way Goldine saw it, is this how you say your name? I don't know, man. There's gotta be somewhere it tells you how to say it. Wait, what? Goldine and Joan? Oh, here we go. I'm listening to Haley Victoria Crime to hear how to say this shit. Hack Scratcher? Sorry, I'm just listening to this. Joan Rabel. Oh. Sorry. We're almost there. KJ with a 5. Did you watch the new Jeffrey Dahmer documentary yet? I have not, no. Is it good? Sorry, I'm just trying to hear this person say Goldine. She wasn't happy. I just want to make sure I'm saying it right. Golden. Maybe it's just Golden. Goldine sounds more like a woman's name, though, right? Goldine, Golden. I don't know. Goldine sounds cool. We're just gonna call her Goldine. The way Goldine saw it, the grief of her... The way Goldine saw it, the grief of losing her husband would drive Betty Fabiano directly into Joan's arms, with nothing to keep them apart. Many have suggested that the idea was implanted into Goldine's mind by a deeply manipulative Joan, but the fact remains that it was one that she was deeply committed to. Just days after listening to Joan's story of heartbreak, Goldine drove over to a sporting goods store in Pasadena, where she purchased a .38 revolver under the pretense of requiring personal protection. Then on Halloween night, Goldine drove Joan over to the Fabiano house to give her a front row seat for Peter's execution. Joan later told the police that Goldine disposed of the gun in a Los Angeles department store, and following the recovery of the murder... And following the recovery of the murder weapon, law enforcement moved to arrest their suspect. When police officers arrested Goldine in her Hollywood apartment, she reportedly told them, "It's a relief to get this off my mind." After being declared fit to stand trial, Goldine told a judge, "I had no motive personally. Whatever motive I had was to please Joan. I was always easily influenced. I have been impressionable and always trusting." One psychiatrist who took the stand appeared to take pity on Goldine and seemed to confirm that Joan Rabel had subjected her to a despicable level of One psychiatrist who took the stand appeared to take pity on Goldine and seemed to confirm that Joan Rabel had suspected her... Fucking shit. One psychiatrist who took the stand... I'm slurring my words now. Who took the stand... Thanks, Type Newell. Good to see you. Alright. One psychiatrist who took the stand appeared to take pity on Goldine and seemed to confirm that Joan Rabel had subjected her to a despicable level of emotional manipulation. Initially, both women pled not guilty to all charges, but while Goldine was eventually convinced to plead insanity, Joan Rabel refused to comment throughout her hearing and was said to wear an eerie, constant smile during the trial. After the court was convinced of Joan's intimate involvement in the murder of Peter Fabiano, Joan joined Goldine in being convicted by the jury. Yet bizarrely, instead of first-degree murder, both women received convictions in the second degree. Such a decision seemed inexplicable in light of how cold and deliberate Peter Fabiano's murder was, but it comes with a degree of nuance. Having considered the level of manipulation she was subjected to, the jury weren't willing to convict Goldine of a crime befitting a cold-blooded killer, and even though she hadn't pulled the trigger, the jury believed Joan deserved to be jailed for so heavily encouraging Peter's execution. The sentences handed out to the women were designed to reflect this nuance, as both were sentenced to 5 years to life imprisonment. Goldine Pfizer was eventually released, but she chose to stay in the greater Los Angeles area until she died at 83 maybe it's Pizer. Fuck. I want to say Pfizer because of the... Goldine Pizer was eventually released, and she chose to stay in the greater Los Angeles area until she died at 83 in 1988. I'm fucking up. Goldine Pizer was eventually released, and she chose to stay in the greater Los Angeles area until she died at... Why can I not say the sentence? Goldine Pizer was eventually released, and she chose to stay in the greater Los Angeles area until she died at 83 in 1998. Considerably... Jesus fuck, man. Considerably less information exists pertaining to Joan Rabbles, but it's generally assumed that she was released from prison around the same time as Goldine. Betty Fabiano ended up selling the beauty empire created by her husband and lived the rest in relative comfort in Palm Desert, California, until she passed away in 1999. Her passing marked the end of a woman who was barely out of her 30s when the love of her life was stolen away from her. A tragedy was... Her passing marked the end of a woman who was barely out of her 30s when the love of her life was stolen away from her. A tragedy that was engineered by a woman who she'd once called a friend. 360 no scope that like button. Hell yeah, dude. Let's frickin' go. Are you having a dull ache? Where are you having a dull ache at? Your right hand hurts. Why do people think Joel drinks only once a year? Yeah, I can't handle that shit. Drinking sucks, man. It's not even fun. I enjoy it like initially, but I can only enjoy it in like a party sense. Like I just can't enjoy it like for the taste or the casual concepts. Spank that like button. On Halloween night of 1994, 7-year-old Tony Bagley was intensely excited to head out on his first real trick-or-treating adventure. For his costume, Tony had chosen to dress up as a skeleton, and once he was looking suitably spooky, he accompanied his mother, aunt, and 10-year-old sister out onto Engelstad Street. Engelstad. Alright. You, Nick Crowley, and Mr. Nightmare should team up. That'd be fun. I don't know, it's actually like oddly difficult to like get people to collab and shit anymore. I mean, not that I've collabed with them before, but I just don't really know how to do it. I guess you can just message people, but if you don't really have, I don't know, we'd have to figure something out. I feel like everybody just wants to get paid, which is reasonable. For his costume, Tony had chosen to dress up as a skeleton, and once he was looking suitably spooky, he accompanied his mother, aunt, and 10-year-old sister out onto Engelstad Street in his hometown of Las Vegas. At around 6:15 p.m., the family found themselves near the intersection of Cheyenne and MLK, when suddenly, a man wearing a hooded sweatshirt and dark-colored joggers ran out into the street. The man appeared to look around for a few seconds. The man appeared to look around for a few seconds before his gaze became fixed on the Bagley family. Then, to their absolute horror, the hooded man pulled out a pistol before opening fire on the terrified family. At the time the shooter commenced firing, the street was packed with costumed children and their accompanying parents, and chaos erupted as the multitudes of trick-or-treaters were running for cover. When the firing ceased, a speeding vehicle pulled up alongside the gunman, who jumped into the back seat before the car raced away. One by one, the terrified onlookers emerged from their hiding places to witness a truly traumatizing sight. All 4 members of the Bagley family were lying on the asphalt, with each one soaked in blood from the gunshot wounds they'd suffered. Tony's 10-year-old sister was rushed into emergency surgery after it was discovered her liver had been damaged, while Tony's mother and aunt suffered wounds to her chest and leg respectively. Little Tony, on the other hand, had been shot in the head. He was placed on life support, and despite hospital staff doing everything in their power to save him, he later died as a result of his injuries. Local law enforcement made an urgent appeal for information, but Despite a great deal of public outrage, only a handful of witnesses came forward to identify Tony's killer. They said the shooter was an African American male in his late teens or early 20s and was around 5 foot 8 inches tall. The eyewitness statements led to the arrest of several suspects, most of which were involved in gang activity, but sadly, there was never enough evidence to solidly identify them as having taken Tony's life. Upon learning of Tony's tragic death, casino executive Bob Stupak offered a $100,000 reward for any information leading to an arrest, and Tony's murder went on to be featured on the nationally circulated TV show America's Most Wanted. However, despite a fresh wave of public fury, not a single person came forward with any pertinent information, and the case eventually went cold. Some suggested that the Bagley family were involved in narcotic sales in the area, and the shooting was revenge for a drug deal gone wrong. Yet many close to the family insisted that they were innocent of such activities, and that any link to organized crime was down to mistaken identity. 4 years later, Tony's father was arrested and eventually convicted over the murder of a man named Curtis Henry. Curtis was a degenerate gambler, and by 1998, he had accrued such a vast debt among underground loan sharks that he was greenlit for execution. Somehow, the task fell to Tony's father. Father. Yeah, maybe, wait, whose hand was hurt again? I was thinking maybe you could put it under, or put it in warm water and, massage it or something like that. Or what you could do is, I guess you could go to if you have a bathtub or even a faucet, you could put it, under warm water or hot water, whatever you can handle, for a minute, and then go to cold and massage it, and then go to cold and massage that area, and then go back and forth, each for a minute at hot and cold. And I remember that really helped my ankle, where it helps to pull, if you've injured it, it kind of helps to circulate the blood and get old blood out and new blood in. That's kind of nice. I like hamburgers, Tom, and Joel is almost nap time for Joel. Is it? Stomp on the like button wearing ice skates. Somehow, the task fell to Tony's father, who was later described as an angry, evil person by his victim's mother after a courtroom heard how he bragged of the murder. The father's illegal activities had somehow evaded the attention of law enforcement during the initial round of investigations, and a series of related theories began to emerge as a result. Even though Tony's father wasn't part of his family's lives, it didn't mean his gangland rivals wouldn't target them for reprisals. Las Vegas homicide detectives later visited Tony's father. Las Vegas homicide detectives later visited Tony's father while in custody, seeking to question him in relation to his son's murder. Yet the man himself refused any kind of police cooperation, and it was impossible for them to rekindle the search for Tony's killer. Some even speculated that the whole debt collection killing was merely a cover for Tony's father seeking revenge against his killer, and that the reason he refused to cooperate with the police is because he knew for certain that justice had been meted out. Yet without any concrete answers or familial cooperation, it's unlikely that the whole truth will ever see the light of day. Until that day, Tony Bagley's murder will remain unsolved, and the memory of a brief but happy life will forever be overshadowed by his cruel and senseless slaying. Got a lot of true crime tonight. I don't mind it. On the night of October 31st, 1969, 16-year-old Patty Spencer had arranged to join 15-year-old friend Pamela Hobley and her family for a round of trick-or-treating in their small hometown of Oscoda, Michigan. Yet at the last minute, there was a change of plan. Pamela, let me see if it's called Oscoda. There's no whatever. Yet at the last minute, there was a change of plan. Pamela told her mother that she and Patty wouldn't be joining them for trick-or-treating and would instead be... Man, my mind keeps getting ahead. It's so fucking annoying. Pamela told her mother that she and Patty wouldn't be joining them for trick-or-treating and would instead be attending a Halloween party hosted by a high school friend. Patty's mother implored her daughter to not stay out too late, then busied herself helping her 3 young daughters to prepare for their costumes for the evening. Little did she know, it was the last time she would ever see her daughter alive. A few hours later, Pam Hobley's mother received a telephone call from her daughter's boyfriend. Pam's boyfriend wanted to know if she'd left for the party yet, and when her mother informed him that she departed hours ago, both became very concerned. Pam's mother then telephoned Patty Spencer's mother, and after the pair conducted a briefly preliminary search, they realized their daughters had gone missing. The police were informed and an investigation into the girls' disappearance commenced, with officers looking to build a picture of the girls' last known whereabouts. A number of eyewitnesses stated that the girls were last seen walking near Oscoda. A number of eyewitnesses stated that the girls were last seen walking near Oscoda High School, yet a man later came forward to state that the girls had been hitchhiking and that he'd given them a ride from River Road into downtown Oscoda. That was quite a distance from the location of the party they were supposed to be attending, and despite law enforcement's efforts to uncover a reason, the motive behind their sudden detour remains a mystery. As the investigation progressed, detectives found themselves transfixed with 2 specific details of the case. The first was that neither Patty nor Pamela were Rescue 911. The first was that neither Patty nor Pamela wore purses with them when they left for the party that night. According to their mother... I keep messing up random shit. According to their mothers, the girls went everywhere with their purses, as their entire lives were tucked inside. This struck investigators as odd, and suggested that wherever the 2 girls went that evening was somewhere they didn't feel 100% safe. The second detail was that in the weeks before her disappearance, Pam Hobley had brought up the possibility of meeting a friend from the northern town of Flint. Some have suggested this person is connected to the girls' disappearance, but not only have they never been identified, but Pamela's sister, Mary... God damn it. I'm so sick of the names. Mary Burrell. How do you say it? Burley, okay. You cuss a lot in your older videos. I was surprised. I thought it added more flair. Yeah, I think it would, but you get like flagged for it in like YouTube videos, and I don't want to get demonetized for stupid shit. Some have suggested this person is connected to the girl's disappearance, but not only have they never been identified, but Pamela's sister, Mary Burley, expressed her doubts that the Flint lead would be fruitful. Desperate for answers, Pamela's family posted a $1,000 reward for any information to locate Pamela or to bring any possible murderer to police custody. But despite the hefty sum, no promising tips came in from the general public. As the years passed and the case grew colder and colder, some investigators suspected that the girls might have been early victims of the Oakland County child killer. It was something of a shot in the dark, as the Oakland County child killer had operated primarily between February of 1976 and March of 1977, yet even skeptics found similarities between the cases to be chilling. The general consensus remained that the two girls had been abducted and murdered by whoever they had gone to meet, or by someone they'd chosen to hitchhike with. But for all intent and purpose, it was as if they'd simply vanished into thin air. The heartbroken families of the two missing girls had to wait until 1985 for a break in the case, when an anonymous tipster reported that Patty and Pam were buried near a barn, one noted for its popularity as a teenage party spot. This tipster also reported that the girls' killers had been two local men, although they didn't know the exact names of those responsible. Police moved quickly to conduct a search of the area, but despite the use of highly trained cadaver dogs, there was no evidence that any human remains were buried in the barn's vicinity. Shortly afterwards, the police discovered that a second man had given the two girls a ride after they'd been spotted in downtown Oscoda. This man's reluctance to answer questions, in combination with his hesitance to approach the police, made him a major suspect in the case. If the police estimated timeline of events was correct, the man was the last person to see the girls alive. But despite an expensive investigation into his lifestyle and whereabouts, there was no concrete evidence that had been taken that he— fuck me, god damn it. When I say intent and purpose, intents and porpoises. But despite an extensive investigation into his lifestyle and whereabouts, there was no concrete evidence that he'd taken the girls' lives. In the years that followed, Pam's sister Mary had continued to raise awareness of the case and had campaigned for it to be reopened and re-examined. She is a regular at the annual charity event known as Missing in Michigan, where family members of missing Michigan residents work alongside detectives to share details of such cases. Both Patty and Pam have been entered into a number of national databases, including the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, who used a technique known as age progression to illustrate an estimated likeness of how the pair could look if they were still alive. These images were circulated in the early 2010s. These images were circulated in the early 2010s, but unfortunately, they didn't yield any fresh leads. A new detective was assigned to the case in 2010, and they proceeded to conduct fresh interviews with the case's witnesses in the hopes of generating new information. This new effort appeared to have led to the 2013 announcement that the police had a new person of interest in the case, but ultimately, they needed more information for the investigation to continue. As time goes on, it's increasingly unlikely that Patty and Pamela's disappearance will ever be solved. Physical evidence can be preserved, but the memories of potential witnesses cannot. If there is indeed an eyewitness account that could crack the case wide open, there's an ever-increasing chance it'll go to the grave with them. Michigan State Police simply haven't had the right resources at the right times to really make any steady progress, and combined with the soul-crushing bad luck the investigation seems to have faced, it's doubtful that the final moments of Patty and Pamela's lives will ever be pieced together. Boom shakalaka. Sorry, rest in peace, girls. Also, Pradeep is here, and he is rubbing into my legs aggressively. Thanks, LR. Good to see you. To stutter. Joel on a pizza roll. You were looking at mermaid tattoos. I think he said mermaid tacos. I was like, that sounds kind of good. I've been a police officer for the last 7 years, and for 3 of them, I worked as part of an emergency response team in a busy London borough. One Halloween, we drove over to a suspected domestic violence. No, Bertie. No! I hear him scratching somewhere. Oh, wait. He's behind me. What the hell? What did I hear then? I just looked behind me. He's just like sprawled out. He's so flirty. Flirty, 30, and thriving. One Halloween, we drove over to a suspected domestic violence incident in a block of flats. The informant was a woman who was in the middle of taking her kids trick-or-treating when suddenly they heard screaming and fighting coming from one of the flats. Domestic disturbances like that are a depressingly common occurrence sometimes, and they can obviously make for very volatile situations. So as me and a colleague drove over to the address, there were quite an intense feeling of apprehension in the car. We had no idea at the time, but the encounter we were about to have would become a bit of a legend back at the station, and is something I've never really ever been able to properly explain. Once we arrived at the address, my colleague and I walked up a few flights of stairs, found the flat that the disturbance was coming from, then knocked on the door. I hadn't heard anything on my way up the stairs and certainly couldn't hear any disturbance coming from inside once we were at the door. There was a good chance that things had simply died down, but that didn't mean that we didn't have to follow up with a welfare check and some questions. After knocking twice, we had no response, and it didn't look like we were going to get to talk to anyone from the property, so my colleague left me to go downstairs and speak directly to the informant. While he does that, I thought I'd be able to get one of the neighbors to talk to me, but right as I'm about to buzz the next flat over, the door of the address we'd been given opens up, and this old lady comes to the door. It was only coming up at 10 p.m., but we'd clearly woken her up with our knocking, and she was naturally alarmed to see me standing outside. I told her that someone had called saying that they could hear a disturbance coming from within her address. I asked her if there was anyone else inside with her, and she looked bemused and told me that she lived alone and had been sleeping. Confused, I then radioed my colleague to double-check if I was calling at the right place. Then, when he confirmed that I was at the right one, I figured that I'd dig a little bit deeper. I asked the little old lady if I could pop into her flat for a minute so I could have a look around and make sure no one was there. She tells me, of course. She tells me, of course, that I'm more than welcome to have a look around, but when I walk inside, the flat is in almost complete darkness apart from her hall light and her bedside lamp. I begin searching through the flat just to be on the safe side. My big fear was that someone had broken in, then had threatened to hurt her if she didn't tell us everything was okay. So once I eliminated my own personal worst nightmare, I decided we'd just move on and wait for any additional calls. Then, right as I'm about to leave, my colleague called me up on the radio. He sounded a bit flustered as he told me he was on his way up back... what? He was on his way up back up. He sounded a bit flustered as he told me that he was on his way back up, then asked me if everything was okay. I'm obviously very confused as he seemed to be acting like I was in trouble when everything was just fine. He then told me that there had been a second 999 call from one of the flat's neighbors, and they too could hear screaming and loud thuds coming from the flat I was in. I just stood there for a moment, listening to nothing but silence, while feeling this weird chill creeping up my spine. There had to have been a mistake. There just had to be, because although we got our second call stating that there was an ongoing disturbance occurring, I was in the flat itself, and I couldn't hear a bloody thing. Once I'd actually confirmed that nothing was going on, we left shortly afterwards, having made a point of apologizing to the elderly woman for waking her. The week between Halloween and Bonfire Night tends to be a very busy time for us for obvious reasons, so it wasn't like we had to long sit. Too long to sit. Can't stop yawning. Me neither. Oh wow, we're at 600 people here too. I feel like we're blazing through it. It's only been an hour 41. It's only been an hour 41. 41 past an hour. Mermaid tacos. The week between Halloween and Bonfire Night tends to be a very busy time for us for obvious reasons, so it wasn't like we had too long to sit and reflect on what had just happened. And the next thing we knew, we were off chasing some teenagers who responded to a rejected trick-or-treat attempt with broken windows. It was only much later on, when the night had quieted down a bit, that we started to go over what had happened back at the flats and why exactly the whole thing felt really creepy. The next time I was on shift, I was immediately greeted by a colleague who asked me, "So what did the ghost..." The next time I was on shift, I was immediately greeted by a colleague who asked me, "So what did the ghost look like then?" Everyone was joking that we just visited a haunted house, with some genuinely more convinced on it than others. I don't believe in any of that, but sometimes I wonder just what was happening to make people complain of screams inside that flat, when in reality, the place was as quiet as the grave. Spooky. Spooky. Okay. Man, we are blasting off. We are jacking these stories off. I mean, blasting through them. Okay. Let me make sure I got everything. Also, tomorrow, Derek Weber, if you've seen his YouTube channel, he will be a guest on the show at the end. So hopefully you listen to all these stories and get to hear him. He does a great job. Make sure I didn't miss one. Yeah, I guess we got one more here. Well, real quick, do y'all mind if I run up and grab my nightly magnesium pills, my nighty boy pills, and just so I can, because I'm gonna hit the sack probably directly after streaming, so I will be right back. You guys get yourself a little snack. Okay. Sorry about that. We're back, baby. Yeah. You want to remember Are You Afraid of the Dark? Oh, yeah, baby. I remember it. Those clown's icons remind me of the Insane Clown Pussy. Yeah, that was like one of my favorite. I'm kind of a juggalo. Hardcore. I'm wearing the clown makeup right now. Your dog loves my voice, sleeps and relaxes when I have him on. That's funny. I like the sound of that. I like the sound of that. They can make the dogs go take a nap. Doodle-doo-doo-doo-doo. My mom adopted another bird last week, so we have 4 budgies, budgerigars, 2 blue and 2 white. Interesting. That sounds like quite the loud home. Okay, so yeah, we really blasted through those, which is crazy. Didn't expect to do that, but hey, here we are. I suppose not every stream can be 4 hours. I only drink Faygo. I never had Faygo. Is it good? I've been making HelloFresh box meals for years, and I have to say this is my first failure, not a bad score. What happened, Amber? Put too much sauce. A little too much sauce in there for taste. Joel's gonna be on the Let's Not Meet Halloween stream on Twitch. Oh, that's true, yeah. I think I have to get something over to him. I don't quite remember what, though. Do I still drink Dr. Pepper? You know, I do, but I think I'm stopping because, well, I say that and I think I'm full of shit. But I didn't realize, like, I would get, like, these 6-packs of, like, Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. And I didn't realize, like, each one of those had, like, 68 grams. We'll just go with 69 milligrams of caffeine in them each. And that equals over 400, I believe. I mean, 69 times 6. 414 milligrams of caffeine. And, like, sometimes I would drink that at night, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I don't think I need that much caffeine. So I started, I don't know. I just gotta stop drinking soda. It's fucking terrible. Matt Solitary with the 5. So I spent the last year listening to Let's Read every time I worked on my Kickstarter that finally launched today. Thank you, Joe, for the motivation and sleep eyes. Nice, Matt. What is your Kickstarter? Wait, you're right. 69 does equal. Let me type that again. 69 times 6 equals 414. Well, damn. I wish it was 420 because that'd be funny because then I would multiply it by 666 and also don't get 420, but whatever. Also, I don't know what it is I love about, like, the trifecta of the numbers 69, 420, and 666. It's just like the epitome of all the temptations of man. I mean, you have 69, which is like lust. You have 420, which is like the indulgence in consumables. And then you have 666, which is just like the devil, evil, you know, doing bad things. It's crazy, dude. It's freaking crazy. I'm gonna go grab a squirt. I like how I blurped that out and bleeped that out. Be right back, grabbing a squirt. What's your favorite drink? Squirt? Fart master. What are you mad about, Melody? You farted? Oh, dude, that's sick. That's fucking awesome. Let it loose. trap yourself under the covers and just absorb your own stench. You never thought about those numbers like that? Well, now you did. Surge. I think I had some Surge drink before. Jesus, it stinks. Did a collab with the Dark Somnium. You two are the best. Yeah, Dark Somnium, he puts a ton of effort into his like scoring, and just like production quality is always top notch. I haven't checked his channel in forever. His music is crazy too. The Dark Somnium music, I believe, or something like that. Let's see. Yeah, wow. Dark Somnium does great. So 2 days ago, a creepypasta gets 80k views, and then like 3 weeks ago, well, that is a long ass creepypasta. Holy fuck! It's 6.5 hours, dude. Holy Christ! How do you even make that? How do you even render that without it crashing? The back roads before that was 100. See, that's pretty cool. You don't see that too often, like where a creepypasta channel gets like a fuck ton of views, which is awesome for him. And I'm happy that he's, you know, doing that. Does Pradeep like cold cuts? You know, he'll eat real small little bits, but like he just seems to enjoy his normal cat food. Well, actually, what am I talking about? I guess he likes wet food, which is like, right, currently chicken related. But can I do a backflip? I never could on a trampoline. I think I was like either too afraid to try, or I just generally never did. Alright, my friends, last story of the night, story number 8, but I guess there will be 9 if we get Derek Weber's involved in this video. It stinks. Nice and good. Okay, so I'm not exactly a 911 dispatcher, but I work very closely with them, although they'd never actually know it. For the past 4 or 5 years now, I've worked as the IT guy for a law enforcement agency, and it's my job to bring up specific 911 calls wherever there's a big incident or a legal request coming in. I would listen to the calls to make sure that we got all the correct radio traffic, which would of course mean that I had to listen to all or most of the call. I also did this to make sure that we had the right 911 call that was being requested for review. The one that sticks out to me happened about a year ago into my job. What the fuck? The one that sticks out to me happened about a year into my job, on Halloween night of 2009. I was actually repairing some equipment in our dispatch center when the call came in and had to immediately pull the recordings as we all knew it would have been requested. I listened to it all happen and did my best to assist. A 12-year-old boy called in hysterical and asked for an ambulance because his mom was shot. We of course dispatched immediately, but they were in the middle of nowhere and the closest ambulance was 30+ minutes away. As the call continued, we got him to tell us what had happened. The kid was all set up to go trick-or-treating, and for whatever reason, he decided that his dad's gun would tie it all together. It was an older-style bolt-action rifle with no safety in it. Man, why do I'm like reading a word and it's fine, and then all of a sudden my mouth is like, I quit. Nero's jealous of you, Joel. He's trying to get my phone out of my hand by being deeply affectionate all of a sudden. Good. Sorry, Nero. She's mine. It was an older-style bolt-action rifle with no safety and an extremely light trigger pull. He had just pulled it out of the case and accidentally hit the bolt on the side of the table, which caused the gun to fire. The bullet went through the bedroom wall, into the kitchen, and hit the mom in the stomach, all while she was standing less than 30 feet away. I don't know where the dad was, but he wasn't home when this all happened, so the dispatcher had the... Man, it's like I got tongue twisted on like the easiest shit. I don't know where the dad was, but he wasn't home when this all happened, so the dispatcher had to direct the son so he knew how to stop. So the dispatcher had to direct the son on... Okay. I don't know where the dad was, but he wasn't home when this all happened, so the dispatcher had to direct the son on how to stop the bleeding. Listening to that call was honestly the most terrifying, traumatic, and heart-wrenching few moments of my life. At first, you could faintly hear the mom in the background saying stuff like, "It's okay. You didn't mean it. It's okay. I love you." She just kept repeating the stuff over and over while the son was sobbing and giving us all the info as we tried to assist. Towards the end of the call, the son was shouting over and over, "Mama. God, Mama, I'm so sorry, Mama. Don't die, Mama. Mama, please." As far as I know, she was gone long before the ambulance ever arrived. The dispatcher I work with managed to stay cool while I was on the verge of a nervous breakdown, and they worked like a well-oiled machine during the whole call, but sadly, I don't think that story came with a happy ending. Dispatchers truly are the unsung heroes. The emotional and mental toll that it takes on people that do the job is crazy. I know for a fact that I couldn't do it. I'm just not emotionally tough enough, but that just makes me all the more grateful for I know for a fact that I couldn't do it. I'm just not emotionally tough enough, but that just makes me all the more grateful for those that are. Kitty, sit. Sit, Pradeep. Sit. Sit down. Sit. 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 No! He didn't sit. Alright. Clothes for sleep are so weird to me. Like, isn't that what sheets are for? This is true, yeah. Sometimes it's chilly, though. And you're like, oh gosh, it's a little cold. I better bundle up. Do you use your reading voice anywhere else other than in your videos? I mean, sometimes when people like ask me about my channel or something in real life, and then I like do the voice, and they're like, oh my god, that's so funny. Yeah, chatting with my new girlfriend. Sit right there. Daddy, chill. Somebody left a comment earlier. It was like, please stop saying daddy chill in the live streams. I don't know how to explain to my mother what you're talking about. And I said well, not that I said anything, but I was thinking I could say, just tell them, mommy chill. Mommy chill. Alright, I'm gonna read this outro. Jolie chill. Can you guys think of something fun? Well, yeah, something funny to say at the end. Or something enlightening. I don't know. Fry, you're too lazy to cook? Fry, I know someone like you who's as good at art as you are, would be like a master chef. Hey, fuck. I actually thought I was like starting to read a story, so I said, my friends. Hey friends, thanks for listening. Click that notification bell to be alerted of all future narrations. I release new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you got a story, be sure to submit them to my subreddit, r/Let'sReadOfficial, and maybe even hear your story featured on the next video. And if you want to support me even more, grab early access to all future narrations and bonus content over on Patreon, or click that big join button to hear about the extra perks offered for the channel. And check out the Let's Read podcast, where you can hear all of these stories in big compilations and save huge on data, located anywhere you listen to podcasts. Links in the description below. Thanks so much, friends. Daddy, chill. And remember. Thanks so much, friends. And remember, Daddy chill. I feel like I did that already on like previous, but maybe I didn't. Sleeping in clothes is lame. Everybody rip them off. Rip them off. Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. All my stream days. Today was Tuesday. We really banged through those. I mean, 2 hours, but normally it's like 2.5. I don't know how we banged through those so fast, but I guess it is what it is. It is what it is. My name is Earl. But yes, I will get this edited and up over on Hola, estoy tratando de prestar atención en clase. ¿Puedes dejar de hablar? Gracias. I don't know. Let me look that up real quick on the Google, on the Translate. Hi, I'm trying to pay attention in class. Can you stop talking? Thank you. Yes. We can do that right now because the stream is over. Bathai Hai Senpai. Oof. Thank you for the 5, my friend. Appreciate you. Gracias to everyone for being here, and I will get these up and edited on Patreon. It's only $1 a month over there for early access to audio, new videos. New videos come out every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. New streams every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday, usually, But I'll be back Thursday. We'll keep you posted. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at Let's Read Creepy, where I will update you when new streams are going up. In case YouTube's notifications don't work, be sure to hit those notifications over there. Otherwise, hit that bell over here, and thank you again, friendos. Always appreciate you. Always have a good time. Sorry it was kind of short. I almost want to stick around, but at the same time, I'm quite tired from a long day. I had to wake up many hours ago. So, you need to watch that movie now. You inspired me. Which movie are you going to watch? Okay. Adios. Cumpleaños.